You think Jesus can do anything right here in Las Vegas, Sin City? I believe that what God is doing is He's creating an eternal testimony. And what we know is when we can come together under a spirit of unity, nothing will be impossible. Hello and welcome to another episode of Las Vegas United. I'm your host, Aaron Pino. And today we have a special guest planned for us right here on Las Vegas United. But before I introduce our guest, I want to just say thank you to everyone who tunes in weekly to watch this, whether you're watching on Keen 17, maybe you're watching this on YouTube, or maybe you're even listening to this on our podcast on iTunes or Spotify. I want to just personally say thank you. I appreciate you tuning in. You know, our audience, I believe, is one of the greatest audience that for a show that we have. We get emails, I get phone calls every now and then and say, man, I like this episode. I like that episode. You know, I actually have people who have come to our church because they have seen what is going on here on Las Vegas United. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, for listening, however it is that you're getting this. And a special shout, I'm going to do this one time before we get started, a special shout out to everyone who listens to this on iTunes and Spotify. You guys are amazing. If you would do me a favor, take a moment just to subscribe to that channel right there, and it'll just help us get the word out what we are doing here at Las Vegas United. Well, without further ado, I want to jump into this interview. I'm excited to talk to my new friend, who is a business owner right here in Las Vegas with his wife. Would you help me welcome my new friend, Troy Allison? Troy, thanks for being on the show today.
Hey, thank you, Pastor Aaron. I appreciate you having us. It's truly an honor.
Awesome. Yeah, the honor's all mine. I love meeting new friends, especially new friends in Las Vegas. Yes. You know what I mean? Doing things here in our city. Before we jump in and talk about, you know, everything that you're doing here in Vegas, introduce yourself to our audience. Let us know, you know, your name, family, how long you've been in Vegas, all that good stuff.
Sure. Well, I'm Troy Allison. We've been in Las Vegas since 2006. I moved here from Northern California. My wife, Keisha, who's not here right now. She's my better half for sure. She's from Los Angeles. And we've been living here for, 15, 16 years, going on 17. You know, the time really flies.
Oh, yeah.
I have a brother and a sister that live here. They came from Northern California, you know, part of the California Exodus.
Oh, yeah.
We've really enjoyed our time here in Vegas and seeing it grow and develop.
Yeah.
We live over by Jones and the 215 on the south side, and just everything west of Jones has really sprung up, and it's hard to believe how much growth there's been since we moved here.
It's Vegas because I grew up here in Vegas.
Oh, you did?
I did, and I moved away when I was 18, and I moved back just a couple of years ago. And man, it's a different city, man. It's like a different.
It is.
Everything has grown. Everything's booming. So, what brought you guys to Vegas?
It was one of these things. Well, for me, it was, I worked a job where I was able to telecommute, and I had worldwide responsibility. So I could live pretty much anywhere as long as it was near an airport that was sufficient to get me from wherever I was to wherever I needed to be. And, I looked at a lot of different cities, and, you know, Austin and, Los Angeles, and for some reason Vegas just seemed like the place to go, and so I tried it. And my wife, she moved here. She manages dental practices, and so she's very well steeped in how to manage and make a small business successful. And when we met up, it was
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Vegas. You know, I was just telling someone, one of our previous guests, like, it's amazing because the people I have on the show, most of them aren't born and raised here.
Right.
They just land up here, you know, and it seems like that's the way with a lot of people here in Vegas. You know, they land up here, but then as they're here, and obviously it's not everybody, but a lot of people
find their purpose here. They find being effective here and starting businesses here and making a difference here. So, yeah.
I think one of the things that makes Vegas unique when you move to Las Vegas, unless you were, your family was here, but most people, like you said, just move here and just start a new life. You end up having to rely on your neighbors and friends as your surrogate family while you're here, because you don't really have any other relatives. And I think that creates a different kind of atmosphere and a different kind of attitude. And also Nevada kind of gives you that entrepreneurial spirit. When you move from California, the regulations and all the rules and and I also noticed there are a lot of people from New York and some of these other really heavily regulated states. They get in Nevada and it's like they just open up and it's a whole new world and they see the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Las Vegas. I'm glad I'm here. You mentioned Austin. I have a lot of family in Texas and the Austin area. So Texas is amazing too, but I'm glad I'm here in Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
Man. It's a great place. So you moved out to Vegas all those years ago. Obviously we were talking earlier, you were in tech and your wife is in business. Yeah. And about 7 years ago, you guys decided to do a new venture and open some things up. So tell us what it took leading up to that and tell us what that adventure is.
Sure. So about, as you mentioned, 7 years ago, it was maybe 8 years ago that I retired from my high-tech job. I was senior management and ready to do something different after almost 28 years in high tech. And I'm not a tech fan, even though, all my background is in tech. When I have to upgrade my iPhone, I just cringe, right? I don't want to deal with tech.
You mean you have a love-hate relationship with technology?
Yes.
Like me too?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I retired and I didn't have a lot to do. So did all the things that you would want to do when you retire. I lounged on the couch and watched some TV, traveled, tried to get into some hobbies and, did that with, moderate success. Mm-hmm. And basically I was bored and I needed to do something. So then I started this mission of, what am I going to do with my life? Mm-hmm. And so I read some books about, how do you find yourself? How do you, get that direction? Where's the rudder? Mm. And it's more difficult than you think when you try to start that second phase of your life, where you just really can't find your calling. You're almost lost in a way. Mm-hmm. And I started to piece it together a little bit at a time, where I was like, I like animals. I started going to all the things that I like to do. And then I started thinking, well, what could I do as a job? Could I get a job or would I have to start a business? And what are the things that would really make me happy? And that was a long path. It took maybe a year and a half, 2 years to figure that out. But once I did, it was a pet food business. So I have a background in nutrition. I have the educational support for that kind of career. I like animals and, just a little bit of a story about how I, connected all that. Mm-hmm. But eventually we opened a small pet food business. And it really dovetailed nicely into my desire and love for cooking. That was also a big hobby of mine. And once I married all those things together, it was my calling. Mm. And now what happens is I can't get out of bed. Well, when I open my eyes in the morning, I can't wait to go into work and just do what I love. There's no substitute for it. It's the best kind of caffeine that you could ever have. I mean, it get you right out of bed, and you can't wait to get to the office.
Oh yeah, man. And it definitely helped that your wife knows and knew how to run a business too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah. And, we were talking earlier, for those people who are listening, watching, this is a Christian business.
Of course.
You guys are Christians. And so talk to us. I love what you said about you wanted to find your calling afterwards. And this is after you've been retired and did something for a long time. And now you're sitting here and you're saying, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
What would you say to people who are maybe looking for their calling too?
Oh yeah, good luck. It's difficult, but you know what? As long as his hand is on your shoulder, you'll be guided in the right direction. What you have to be is patient, and you have to really listen. You have to get in touch with yourself and be honest with yourself. Understand what the difference between what's going to motivate you and what sounds cool. I mean, it sounds cool to be an astronaut, but are you motivated to do all the work, right?
Yeah.
So it's a fine line between understanding what's going to drive you and keep you going for the long term. Yeah. And it's a lot of soul searching. I mean, you really have to you really have to pray on it, and it's not just a one-time thing. It takes a lot.
Yeah.
You can't just say, well, I like taking pictures, I'm going to be a photographer. It's not that simple, because being a photographer is a difficult thing. Making pet food is a difficult thing. And what's going to get you out of bed in the morning and really find, that drive, deep in your heart, what drives your soul. And, it took a lot, and it was one of the most difficult things that I think I've ever done.
Wow.
And then, once you're on that path, once you decide that, you can't undo it.
Yeah.
You're locked in, because once you see the truth, there's no wavering. You can't, I couldn't go, well, I'm going to go back into tech, or I'm going to go do something else. There is no other choice for me. I'm locked in, I'm completely committed. I don't want to change. So I have to make all this work. And that's what drives my wife and I as entrepreneurs, is we know that this just has to work. And when you get obstacles thrown in front of you, you have to overcome them. And and I was thinking about this actually driving in. I feel like my grandparents, who were kind of my surrogate parents, they're looking over me and watching me and helping me through this. And we have had some tough times. The pandemic was one, and others, and just these what seem insurmountable. And when you know who's on your side, like I had said earlier, with his hand on your shoulder, what can't you do? Yeah. But you have to believe it. Yeah. And you have to trust that it's going to see you through and bring you to the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. All that is so very true. Whenever you're trying to do anything with your life, there's an element of grit that you have to have, and faith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, I have this plan, I have this idea, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And I like how you said, there's challenges along the way. You're going to have to be able to push through some things along the way. I think that's true.
Yeah. No one gives you anything. You have to earn it. And unless you win the lotto, but even that, like if you won the lotto, you still have to manage your money, because you see all these shows where, 5 years later, after winning $100 million, they're broke. Everything requires work. You're just not handed anything. You need to earn it. And I think that's expected at every level, is you need to earn your position. You need to earn your way through life all the time, always working and always pushing forward.
Yeah. Well, work, yeah. Like I have a lot of friends who they think work is a cuss word. It's a
Right.
4-letter word. That's not a good thing. But you have to work. You have to put your hand to something and see it come to fruition.
That's where the real beauty comes in, is when you see that finished product, the product of your work. That's what gives you pride. It makes you stand up taller.
Yeah.
What you've accomplished, and it's a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have any work to show, that's a poor reflection of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. I heard someone say one time, when you see something working, it's because someone is working.
Yeah.
When you see something that is actually working, it's because someone behind the scenes is making it work. So in running a business, or for my case, I have a church, whenever something's working, it's because behind the scenes, we're not sitting on our hands. We're actually putting in the hard work to make it accomplish.
I can't imagine running the church. I know that's not easy. The phone calls you get, and some of the problems that you've encountered, they're not easy, and a lot of them are really deep personal problems, and that other people have, and you have to figure all that out, and that is no small challenge.
Yeah, and at the same time, like how you said, like you say, his hand is on your shoulder. Like I know God is near me, and that he's the one that's given me the strength to accomplish what I want to do. And you know what I love too, whenever you're talking, is you talk. I like to sum things up for people and give them bite-sized pieces so they can grab a hold of it during the week, And hearing you talk, you said something that I'm going to put in a bite-sized piece for our people who are watching here, is to find your calling. You talked about it was something you were passionate about, and then something you were gifted for. You were passionate about animals, and then you were also gifted in the culinary arts, And so you use these two things to start a business and to really serve people.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the food industry, making, because not everyone who loves, because I have a dog, and I think I can throw together a meal quite easily, you know what I mean? But why the food, why dog food, and why animal food?
Oh, so this happened on a business trip. One of my last, when I was in Portland, I was up there for an extended period, and I had gotten a Rhodesian Ridgeback puppy, and it's sort of a long story, where when I was 16, my neighbor had a Rhodesian Ridgeback, and I said, I want a Rhodesian Ridgeback sometime in my life. And I had books about Rhodesian Ridgebacks and see them on occasion. And finally, I was at the point in my life, just, the twilight of my career, I could see it ending, sunsetting. And I thought, now's the time. I'm going to get this puppy. And so I was feeding it, and one of my neighbors, and she happened to be a raw feeder, she said, so why are you feeding that highly processed food? And with my background in nutrition, I immediately said, wow, that is highly processed food. And I know the dangers and the health effects of eating a highly processed diet. And I could never unsee it at that point. And I had always just fed kibble, because I had dogs prior to that, and I just never gave it a second thought. And so I was caught up in the spell that the pet food companies had cast on us, and it broke right then when she said that, and I could never unsee what I saw, and so I just started making food for dogs, and with years of nutritional experience, I looked at what it would take to do that. And dogs and humans are fairly close when it comes to nutritional requirements. And so it was not difficult to create a nutritionally complete meal for my dog. And I started feeding my own dog this food. And then I got a commercial product and started feeding her that. And then I noticed they started cutting corners. And one of the things that makes a big difference in diet is the quality of the ingredients that you put in. The better quality of ingredients the less help you need in order to make it taste good or be nutritious. You could think about the difference between a $3 steak and a $20 steak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that $20 steak sure tastes a lot better than the $3 steak.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the $3 steak's tough. You know, you got to season it, maybe marinate it for a couple hours. You know, you kind of doctor it up and it'd be okay, but it's not great. But you've put a lot of work into it and a lot of other spices and things to make it taste good. But that $20 steak, you probably don't have to do too much to it. You know, it's a little salt and pepper, barbecue, and, you know, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And so quality ingredients make a big difference. You know, I like to use the example of Spam. When you look at all the ingredients on Spam, you have preservatives, you have salt, you have gelatin, and, you know, it's a list of like 30 things. But when you look at that quality steak, it's really salt, pepper steak. And the steak tastes a lot better than the highly processed food like Spam. So when you use high quality ingredients, you get a better diet result. The body is better able to absorb it, and you don't have a lot of side effects with all the other chemicals that have to be added to stabilize the food and even make it taste good. And give it a different color. You know, they've got to colorize it because it looks horrible. You know, if they just gave you Spam that, you know, uncolored, you probably wouldn't eat it. It wouldn't look appetizing because you eat with your eyes.
Yeah. And listen, I don't eat Spam anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me either.
And I know we have people watching right now. Hey, if you like to eat that Spam, God bless you. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, Spam.
I've had Spam before, and it doesn't taste bad, but I know it's not good for me. And it's like eating McDonald's. You know, I have nothing. McDonald's tastes great, but I don't eat it because it's not good for you. And if you were on a steady diet of that, if you were feeding your child McDonald's, highly processed food every day, that would be, you know, bad for their health. You know, it comes down to every animal on the planet eats a fresh, raw diet, whole foods, except for humans and their pets. Humans are the only animals that cook their food.
Wow.
And the way the veterinary medicine is set up in America is that if your animal's sick, they say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put your dog or your cat on this highly processed food diet, and that's low in water, low hydration. It's only about 10% water versus the natural diet, which is about 75%. So you're in a chronic state of dehydration.
Wow.
But if you had the same health condition, because dogs and cats and humans get kidney disease, have heart disease, things like that. So if instead of it going, your dog having this health condition, you had it and you went to your doctor wouldn't say, go to the frozen food aisle and buy a bunch of TV dinners. And I want you to stock up and eat some, you know, cereal, go down the cereal aisle and eat a bunch of that. They would say, shop around the outside of the grocery store, you know, get the fresh fruits and vegetables, the fresh meats, fresh produce, eggs, that kind of stuff. They would say, stay away from the highly processed foods. So you've got two paths of treatment and they're diametrically opposed to each other. And most animals, when they get sick, that's the solution that the vets come to, is they sell the pet food that is in the lobby of their practice.
Wow. And so I like how you gave that illustration of stay on the outside of the supermarket, and you've done something for people to where they don't have to. You become the outside of the supermarket for their pets.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you've created this right here. So you guys have a location here in Las Vegas, and you guys deliver here locally, and then also ship nationally too, right? Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah. So if you order $50 or more, free delivery, you can always pick up in the store. And we ship nationally. We actually have large pockets of customers in mostly along the coast, like Miami, Atlanta, New York, Charlotte, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Phoenix. So we have two methods of shipping. You can ship UPS, or we can ship air cargo. And we've done quite a bit of pioneering, not only on the insulation that we use, because all our food is made fresh to order, and then we freeze it. And when we ship it and when we deliver it, that's how it arrives, as frozen. So if we ship it, the thing about UPS is UPS uses an algorithm to calculate the cost of shipping, and we've driven down the cost by reducing the size of the box. So we have these Mylar sandwiches that we had custom made about 5 years ago. Now you see them all the time. Whole Foods are using them. HelloFresh uses them because it has the same insulative properties that 1.5 inches of styrofoam has. Wow. So if you think about UPS, it's cheaper to ship a pound of lead than a pound of feathers. Right. Because of the size of the box. Yes. So if you can get the box small, you can save on shipping costs. Yeah. So that's one of the things. And then the other thing that we've pioneered is we use air cargo. So we have deals with Southwest, Alaska, and Delta Airlines, and we actually put your order on a plane and fly it to you. Wow. I like to tell this one story of we had a doctor in Miami, and she had a cat that was sick, and she happened to have my personal cell phone number. She called me up early one morning and said, "Hey, Troy, would you make a food, for my cat? I want to adjust the formula. It should look like this." And I said, "Sure." And she said, "I need it right away." So we made the food. We have a flash freezer, so we froze it. We packed it in a box, put it on a plane, and flew it to Miami. And then we use a crowdsourced courier. That's another pioneering thing that we've done. And it picked it up from the cargo station, dropped it off at her door by 8:00 that night. So wow. It was from 7 a.m. our time to 5 p.m. our time. And wow. We had it delivered in Miami, freshly made.
That is freshness right there, man.
It doesn't get fresher than that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So if people want to get in contact with you or learn more about what you guys are doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can go to our website, www.fetchingfoods.com, or drop by the facility. It's at 311 South Valley View. And, we'll give you a tour. We'll treat you nice. Awesome. But yeah, just go to our website and we'll take care of you.
Awesome. Sounds good. Troy, thanks for being on the show today, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Pastor Aaron. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And listen, I want to thank you for joining in on this week's episode of Las Vegas United. We will see you next time right here on Las Vegas United. God bless you.
Our show is hosted by Pastor Aaron Pino of Overflow Church. To learn more about him and his ministry, please visit overflowchurch.co. The guest this week is Troy Allison of Fetching Foods. For more information, visit fetchingfoods.com or contact info@fetchingfoods.com. Our show is directed by Javier Moreno. Production assisting by Julie Moreno. Edited by Javier and Jalen Moreno. Las Vegas United is produced by CTN Vegas, the Las Vegas location for the Christian Television Network. For more information about CTN Vegas and our show, please visit ctnvegas.com.